Okay, to kick us off, here's a pretty wild fact. Back in 2019, Red Bull sold 7.5 billion cans. That's almost one for every single person on Earth. But the really mind-blowing part isn't just the drink. It's everything else. We're talking 2 Formula One teams, 5 football clubs, an ice hockey team.
Yeah, and don't forget the crazy events like Crashed Ice, the Wings for Life run, thousands of athletes they sponsor.
Exactly, plus a huge media house producing all this content.
Yeah.
So the big question we're tackling today is all that just marketing? Our mission here is to really unpack Red Bull's business model, look at its surprising start, its very unique marketing, and maybe peek at its future plans. We're drawing from some great material from the YouTube channel Athletic Interest.
Right, and for you, our learner, this goes way beyond just a drinks company. It's like dissecting a whole new kind of corporate beast, really. You get real insights into brand building, diversification, figuring out how to carve out a market that, well, didn't even exist before.
Okay, let's get into it. The origin story. It's something else. So picture this. Summer of '82. Dietrich Mateschitz, an Austrian businessman, is in Thailand. And he's got this killer jet lag. He tries a local drink, creating deng, which means red gal or, Red Bull.
A guy was like a big bison-type animal from Southeast Asia, right?
Exactly. And amazingly, it helps a lot with his jet lag.
It's fascinating, isn't it? He didn't just see a drink to help with jet lag. He saw something much, much bigger, an entire category.
He really did. He wasn't just thinking of bringing an existing drink to Europe. He was thinking about creating a market from scratch, essentially.
That conviction must have been huge. What do you think made him stick with it when everyone else just saw nothing?
Well, he definitely had conviction. He pitched it to Western investors, right? And they all basically said no thanks. They just didn't see a market for the product outside of Asia.
So they missed it completely.
Totally.
Yeah.
But Mateschitz, his attitude was, okay, fine. He was well aware there was no market, so he just decided incredibly boldly, I'll create one.
Right.
He put in $500,000 himself. Then he partnered with the guy who made Creating Dang, Shaleo Jovicia, who matched it. Boom, 50-50 company.
That raises a key point, though. What does it actually take to create a market like that? It wasn't just dumping Creating Dang in Austria, right? No, they had to tweak the formula, the taste for Europe. And then that launch in Austria in '87, it had to be bold.
And that's where things got really interesting. This whole outlaw brand thing happened. Germany banned it initially, which, you'd think would be bad news.
But it backfired on the regulators, didn't it?
Completely. Young Germans started crossing the border into Austria specifically to buy this banned drink. It created this huge buzz.
Yeah.
They sold over 1 million cans in the first year, partly because of that rebellious image.
Wow, 1 million cans year one.
Yeah, and then they expanded fast.
Yeah.
Slovakia, Hungary in '92. Germany and the UK in '94. By the time they hit the U.S. market in '97, they were already selling over 1 million cans a day.
A day. And the big guys, Coke and Pepsi, they just weren't paying attention.
Seems like they totally underestimated Mateschitz and what he was building.
Yeah.
They just didn't see it coming. So that massive growth set the stage for a really unique business model. This new species of corporation, as our source calls it. How they make money is, well, it's different. They focus only on the downstream stuff, the selling, the marketing.
Exactly. And if you look at the big picture, that's a super strategic move. Red Bull itself, it doesn't actually make the drink. The manufacturing, the filling, it's all outsourced.
Right, which frees them up completely.
Yeah, lets them pour everything, all the resources into the brand, the marketing, the sales. It's asset light, but brand heavy.
And the profit margins that come from that, honestly, they're staggering. Making 1 can costs about 9 cents.
9 cents?
Yep. Then wholesale big buyers like Walmart, they pay around $1.87 in a can.
Okay, wait, that's like more than 20 times the production cost.
Right. And the suggested price for you buying it in a store is $3.59.
So people are willing to pay that much premium for, essentially, sugar water with taurine.
Because of the brand. That immense brand power. And that didn't happen by accident. It was all down to a very deliberate, very smart marketing strategy.
Okay, so let's get into that. How did they build that power?
Well, early on, when Mateschitz zeroed in on the club scene, and they had this clever idea, student brand managers.
Ah, yes, the campus reps.
Exactly. Popular students on university campuses basically paid to promote Red Bull throw parties. Red Bull supplied everything.
You still see that legacy today, right? It's hard to imagine certain parties without Red Bull.
Totally. And then there were those iconic VW Beetles, the ones with the giant Red Bull can on the back.
Everyone remembers those.
They show up everywhere. Beaches, colleges, gyms, even office buildings, just handing out free samples. Very hands-on, very visible.
What's really clever there, I think, is how they wove the drink into social situations. Bartenders saw it was a money machine, right? Red Bull and vodka, Red Bull and Jaeger. Suddenly, these become massive global bar calls. It wasn't just advertising, it was embedding the product. That gave them a huge edge.
And that was just the start. Their marketing really evolved. They moved to what the source calls story performing, not just storytelling.
Okay, what's the difference there?
Well, instead of just finding cool stories or events and sticking their logo on it, they started creating their own stories, their own events. And they produced all the content themselves through their own media house.
So they control the narrative and the assets, the footage, the images.
Exactly. Which means when things go viral on social media, they own it all. That massively boosts the return on their marketing spend.
Right, they're not just paying for exposure, they're creating intellectual property.
And the ultimate example of that story performing, Felix Baumgartner, the jump from space in 2012.
The Stratos jump, unforgettable.
It cost them a fortune, right? $50 million.
$50 million, that's a huge bet.
But connect that to the bigger picture. Experts reckon the global media coverage, the buzz around it, that was worth something like $6 billion.
$6 billion, wow, that's an insane return on investment. It became a cultural moment, not just an ad. A masterclass in earned media.
So yeah, this mix, sponsoring extreme sports, creating these huge moments, selling products with that kind of edge, it's kept them at the top. 7.5 billion cans in 2019, over $6 billion in revenue. And they reinvest almost a third of that revenue straight back into marketing to keep the engine running.
A third of revenue on marketing, that's substantial.
It really is. But here's the thing. Despite all that success, revenue growth has actually slowed down quite a bit since around 2012. And the core challenge is pretty obvious. The company relies almost completely, as the source puts it, on one single product, the energy drink.
Yeah, that does raise a big question about the long haul, doesn't it? Especially now, with everyone more focused on health, nutrition, relying so heavily on a drink linked to, well, things like obesity, insomnia, diabetes. That feels risky.
It could backfire eventually, as the source notes.
Definitely. Consumer attitudes are shifting.
So this brings us back to the F1 teams, the football clubs, the media house. These aren't only marketing expenses anymore. Our sources frame them as the attempt to diversify and create additional value chains alongside the can business.
Right, trying to build something beyond the beverage.
But given that, 97% of earnings still come from the cans, what are the real hurdles? Is it just scale? Or is it changing how people see Red Bull?
I think it's both, really. That 97% figure is stark. First, yeah, changing perception from drink company to sports and media giant. That's a massive branding job in itself. And second, these other areas, sports teams, media production, they're super competitive, very capital-intensive industries.
Right, it's not cheap running an F1 team.
Not at all. So while the Red Bull brand gives them a foot in the door, turning these brand investments, which, let's be honest, are probably loss leaders right now, into genuinely profitable businesses, that takes a different kind of operational skill and maybe a lot of patience. It's one thing to create value, another to actually capture it financially on a scale that competes with billions of cans.
Sounds like they're definitely playing the long game here. They talk about implementing sport as a business, building this whole integrated chain, media production, owning the teams, managing broadcasting, contracts, all of it.
And the football club strategy is a really concrete example of that.
Yeah, explain that a bit, owning multiple clubs.
Well, it creates this amazing pipeline for talent. Think about it. A promising young player could start at Red Bull Bragantino in Brazil.
Okay.
Then maybe move to Europe, play for Red Bull Salzburg in Austria, get experience.
Develop their skills.
Exactly. Then, if they're good enough, step up to Red Bull Leipzig in Germany, play in the Champions League. And maybe end their career with the New York Red Bulls in MLS. It's a global system for developing and moving talent they own.
That's incredible synergy.
It's not just sponsorship anymore. It's like private equity in sports. They're buying assets, the teams, the player contracts, developing them and watching their value go up.
Like the New York team.
Perfect example. Bought for maybe $25 million back in 2006. Forbes now values it at $290 million.
That's more than a tenfold return.
Exactly. And with U.S. soccer growing, especially in a market like New York, that value is likely to keep climbing. It's smart asset management.
Okay, but let's bring it back down to earth for a second, despite that potential.
Right. The reality check.
Beverage sales are still king, around 97% of total earnings. Red Bull themselves call these other activities ongoing brand investment.
Which is code for currently costing us money, not making it.
Pretty much. So the shift from just being a massive marketing expense to being genuinely diversified, profitable businesses, that's still very much a work in progress.
Yeah, the transition isn't complete yet.
What an incredible story, though.
Yeah.
When you step back from a jet lag cure found in Thailand to this global brand owning F1 teams,
Right.
football clubs, we've seen Red Bull isn't just selling a drink, it's selling an experience, an identity, and maybe, down the line, a full-blown sports and media empire.
It really highlights that power of conviction, doesn't it? And that unique business model, the genius of story performing. But it also sets up this really interesting tension. You have this company built almost entirely on one product, which, let's face it, has health question marks around it. And it's trying to pivot, or at least hedge its bets, by building this massive sports and media operation. Can they really shift their core identity and revenue streams to match that brand investment? It's a fascinating strategic challenge.
So for you, our learner, here's something to chew on. In a world that's getting more health conscious, more overloaded with information, can Red Bull truly make that leap? Can they transform their identity and where their money comes from to match the huge scale of their brand investments? And maybe more personally, what can you learn from their sheer audacity in creating a market and building a brand, even if, you're not planning any space jumps soon?
Probably not.
We hope this deep dive gave you some real food for thought, some real insights today.